As Earth exploration continued to expand, they began to hear rumors of an advanced but reticent race known as the Minbari Federation. So far, Earth intelligence personnel had known little or no contact with this mysterious people, despite the fact that they all but shared a border. The nature of hyperspace along Earth's spinward fringe did not lend to easy travel, and so most surveyors gave the region a wide berth. However, as hyperspace exploration became easier and less dangerous, Earth vessels started probing the area with greater interest. One such group was the Prometheus Task Force, led by one Captain Jankowski, a seasoned veteran of the Dilger conflict who believed Earth's forces superior to anything else in the galaxy. It was unfortunate that such a man chanced to be in command of the first military force to encounter the Minbari, for that race, too, was equally confident in its own technological superiority. Worst of all, among the Minbari flotilla was the flagship of the Grey Council, which at that very moment was on a mission to explore the rim. Upon detection of the Earth Task Force, the Minbari closed with the Alliance fleet, hoping to set up a friendly dialogue. Unfortunately, communication proved impossible, as Minbari sensors were so powerful they overwhelmed the unprepared Earth network, shutting down circuits and deactivating jump drive. Captain Jankowski believed this to be a hostile act and put his ships on alert. When the Minbari ships entered firing range with gun ports open, a traditional show of respect among the Minbari warrior caste, Jankowski panicked and opened fire. The close-range salvo crippled the Valentha, the Grey Council's flagship, and killed Dukat, the chosen one and spiritual leader of the Minbari people. In the resulting confusion, Jankowski was able to withdraw his forces, but the damage was done. In that single act, he aroused in the Minbari a terrible thirst for vengeance. With a singleness of purpose, the Minbari people moved to make the humans pay. And pay they did. The Minbari launched an immediate search for human worlds, which they so far had not bothered to map. They tracked Jankowski back to his base and destroyed everything they found there, but in the process the jump beacon was cut, denying the Minbari access to much of Earth space. This forced the enraged Federation to scour the region and gave the Alliance much-needed time to shore up defenses and maximize production. In this the Alliance hoped to buy enough time to fend off the Minbari in the outlying colonies long enough to come to some sort of diplomatic solution. It was a sound plan with one fateful catch. The Minbari had no intention of talking with the Alliance to discuss matters. Spurring all contact, they instead concentrated solely on destroying Terran military forces and slaughtering Earth Force personnel. The Alliance could do nothing to stop the inexorable advance. Even the most powerful vessels in the Earth inventory were no match for Minbari forces, which continually attacked with overwhelming strength. One by one the outer systems fell. Sinzer, Vega, Cyrus, Jericho. Nothing, it seemed, could stop the avenging Minbari host. The problem was not simply one of weapon firepower. Indeed, in terms of close-range direct destructive ability, the Nova Dreadnought was perhaps the equal of the Charlene cruiser. However, the Minbari had more than just big guns in their favor. They possessed better armor, longer-ranged sensors, advanced gravitic propulsion systems, and best of all, a jamming system capable of preventing their inferior enemies from achieving any sort of useful weapons lock. Fighters, too, were perhaps equal in maneuverability and staying power, but the Minbari Nile, or Nighthawk, simply could not be locked onto by the otherwise capable Aurora Starfaries. This allowed Nile pilots to engage at range, carving up Starfaries before they could even the odds in a close-quarters dogfight. As the war pressed on, Earth was reduced to fighting desperate holding actions in the hopes of buying time for refugees to escape doomed outposts. Unable to turn the tide alone, the Alliance began to search the galaxy for outside help, all but begging the other powers for military or economic aid. The Centauri demurred, fearful of bringing Minbari vengeance upon themselves, and simply told the beleaguered Terrans that they were warned not to provoke that which they did not understand. The races of the League, while publicly supportive for their former liberators, knew full well that their ships would be as useful as a thrown rock in the face of a fanatic fleet of Minbari Charlans. They, too, did not send military aid, although the Brakiri and Abai did provide ships and support for evacuation and medical purposes. Only the Narns intervened directly by selling the Alliance weapons and other vital war material, gambling that the Minbari would stop at Earth and not pursue revenge against the regime. The addition of this new technology, while helpful on the surface, really did little to stem the Minbari tide. In desperation, Earth's new strategy was to evacuate all non-essential personnel and sabotage jump beacons, denying the Federation a direct path to the next colony. Despite this, the Minbari relentlessly searched along the various paths one after the other, rooting out and destroying Earth's ships with ruthless abandon. Even counterattacks aimed at cutting off supply lines failed, for the Minbari were meticulous about planting defensive forces in every system they conquered. More than one Alliance task force arrived at a fallen colony with dreams of liberation, only to be crushed to the last fighter. Sometimes word of their fate never even reached Earth, so swift was Minbari response to such efforts. The lone success in the war was that of Commander John Sheridan, who assumed command of a Hyperion-class cruiser after the death of his captain and then managed to destroy a Minbari task group flagship through a deception. Pretending to be disabled, he lured the Black Star in on an attack run and detonated pre-placed nuclear explosives in nearby asteroid. The powerful Minbari cruiser was destroyed, and Earth had its first hero of the war. Still, even this was not enough. After a momentary pause, the Minbari advance proceeded steadily and with deliberate precision. The Alliance tried everything to halt the attackers, including desperate ramming attacks along with various traps and ambushes. The Minbari would not be fooled again. They checked every corner and turned over every rock as they drove on towards Earth. Cyrus fell, and Jericho, and soon the Federation fleets were attacking Earth's largest and most vital colony at Proxima. When contact with that final bastion was lost, the Alliance called its remaining forces home and prepared for the worst. The worst was not long in coming. The Minbari found Sol and approached with the core of their mighty armada. Earth deactivated the Io jump gate and activated an experimental solar blanketing device intended to prevent Minbari jump drives from functioning inside the asteroid belt. In the meantime, Earth Force called upon every ship or fighter capable of flying to form a line of defense around the homeworld. Earth must not fall, they declared, or it would mean the end of the human race. The line was drawn, they said, and the Minbari must not be allowed to cross. The Minbari were not deterred. They arrived in the Sol system and made immediately for the capital, bypassing Io and ignoring Mars. The latter broadcast frantic messages of its own neutrality at the incoming fleet, a move that might have saved it had the attackers not already been seeking bigger game. Although this infuriated Earth Dome, there was little the Alliance could do at this point against this traitorous act. Later, the leaders of Mars would say they did what they did in an attempt to ensure the survival of at least some fragment of humanity, but Earth knew full well they were merely seizing an opportunity to once again claim independence. This attitude would poorly color Earth-Mars relations for years following the conflict. In the end, the Minbari ignored Earth's jump shield technology and exited hyperspace just outside the cobbled-together wall of desperate defenders. The invaders made no effort to bypass this line of defending ships and attack from another angle, but instead tore right into the flimsy Earth Defiance. The resulting battle was brutal and bloody and could have only one final result. Yet, in the midst of what must have seemed to be overwhelming superiority, the Minbari did the unthinkable. Without any sort of explanation, they suddenly heaved to and surrendered. The leaders in Geneva met this move with flabbergasted shock. While Earth's few surviving ships regrouped, leery of some kind of trick, the President and her staff met with the Grey Council and accepted the immediate surrender of all Minbari forces. Incredibly, inexplicably, miraculously, the war was over, and Earth had won. Now came the long and painful ordeal of rebuilding their colonies and fleet. But even now, from the shadows, the foundation for the next war was being laid. Not one of defense, but one of tyranny and fear.